Welcome back, everyone. This is GTA Failer with another odds and ends video. This video is all about 10 statistics bars, 10 stat bars in San Andreas. We're going to start a brand new game. Most of these 10 stat bars will be at 0 at the start of a new game, but some of them are actually non-zero. And I'm going to show you how to get each of these 10 stat bars all the way up to max before you do the first story mission, all except one. I think there's one that maybe we can't get up to max, but let's go ahead and show you the 10 stat bars on this brand new game. So starting from the top, we have fat, stamina, total respect, and lung capacity. Fat is at 20% at the beginning. Stamina is at 10% at the beginning. Sex appeal, muscle is at 5%. Driving skill, flying skill, bike skill, and then finally cycling skill. So all the ones that weren't, 10, 20, and 5%, they all start at 0%. And again, I think that we can get 9 of these up to 100% before we start the first story mission. So the first one was fat, and we've already seen a way to increase fat, and that's to go on a sprunk spree. And so we've got $350. I'm going to skip most of this, but I put in the double speed cheat code twice. And I think we're going to have 60 sprunks, about 60. And then that will increase the fat quite a bit, much more than the 20% that it was at before. And now the next one I want to work on is respect. And when we pass each of the missions, just about every story mission in the game, we get respect added to that stats bar. But there is a way to get respect before you even do any story mission. And this is something Joshimus did in one of his early videos. It turns out that you get respect by killing lots of folks, and apparently you get more respect by killing police officers than standard pedestrians. And so I went back and forth and got this AK-47 ammo, about 500 rounds of it, and now we are using it to good effect. We've got 3 stars, and I'm doing, I think that Joshimus did his respect run right here in this spot. If he didn't do it here, it was a similar place. It was like a place that was protected on 2 sides, right? I got this building here on 2 sides, so that means officers can't come from those directions, and it has a sprunk machine, and so that means you can refill your health. Now, I did not give enough credit to how dangerous those guys coming out of the Enforcer were, but anyway, the respect goes up very slowly if you kill lots of police officers, and you can get it to max, and you can go check out Josh's series if you want to see that. So here, about 11 reps and body muscle upgraded. You saw in our normal save file, we actually did get to maximum muscle before the first story mission. And then here we'll see that the stamina increases, look like about 1,000, like a distance of 1,000, and your stamina increases. You could get that up to max. Let's work on lung capacity to increase this by just spending time underwater. And next up, we're going to work on sex appeal. Now, I don't have 10,000 here. I'm going to use a cheat code to give me 250 grand just so that I can buy this thing. But you could easily get $10,000 before the first story mission. For example, you could do firefighter or paramedic. And so it turns out there's a glitch that allows us to get our sex appeal up to 50% basically for free. So here's how sex appeal works. Half of the sex appeal statistic is about CJ's person, like CJ's body. So his tattoos, his haircut, his clothing, and his jewelry. Surprisingly, fat and muscle have no impact on sex appeal. And so, for example, this white tee, sleeveless t-shirt that CJ wears by default at the start of a new game counts for 1.5% sex appeal. And you would think that when you take off that shirt, you lose 1.5% sex appeal. And then when you put the shirt on, you gain 1.5% sex appeal. But through a glitch, the programmers didn't actually take away the 1.5% every time you take the thing off. And so I'm just going to go back and forth, putting this thing on, taking the thing off. And every time I do that, I'm going to add 1.5% to my sex appeal, and I can get it all the way up to 50%. And so I think I'm doing this in like quadruple speed. And I'll cut some of it because it took a long time, even in quadruple speed. But anyway, we'll get up to 50% just using this glitch. And then the other 50% of sex appeal has to do with the car that you have most recently been in. And so there you go. Sex appeal was real low there after however many attempts. And now we've skipped ahead like, I don't know, 7 hours, 8 hours, something like that. And now we'll pull up the sex appeal stat again, and it will be maxed out at 50% based on just CJ's clothing. So let's pull it up. There it is. And so every car has an amount of sex appeal associated with it. So I'm in this Glendale, and now I'll pull up the stats. So 50% was from the clothing stuff, And maybe we were at 75% altogether. So that means the Glendale counts for 25%. You could see we still had the Glendale sex appeal when we were like 50 feet away, but now we're back down to 50%. It turns out that the sex appeal you get from a car stays as long as you're within 120 feet of that car. So here again, I'm at like 75%, including the car. But as soon as you go into a building, the car sex appeal disappears, even if you're within 120 feet of the car. Okay, now we're going to work on the vehicle. Statistics are all straightforward. You just have to go enough miles on a particular vehicle. So there's the cycling skill by cycling something like 1.5 miles. This is in quadruple speed. The biking skill means spending time on a motorcycle. And so I just did laps here around the airport. The driving skill right there just has to do with traveling enough miles in any kind of four-wheel vehicle. And then the last one we're going to tackle is the flying skill. And you guessed it, you just have to fly enough miles. And there are two different airplanes available here in this airport at the start of this new game. The Shamel is the faster of the two. So since we're just trying to drive a certain number of miles or fly a certain number of miles, it makes sense to take the fastest plane that you have access to. So here we go. It took quite a long time to get the smallest of increases in my flight skill, so I'm going to skip ahead. But I will show you a little Easter egg here. If you take a look at this constellation right there, we're going to pause it. Does that look like anything to you? So to me, it looks like a capital R, kind of like the Rockstar capital R. And then that bright star on the bottom right is representing the star on the lower right of the Rockstar R. So there's a nice little Easter egg up in the sky, that constellation. That Easter egg is carried over from Vice City. They did exactly the same thing in that game. So many minutes of flying later, and we will get a slight increase in flying skill. So I think that you can get all those skills or all those stat bars up to 100%, except maybe sex appeal. I don't know if there's a car that will get you maximum sex appeal in the first island of the game. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you real soon.